God foresees the danger if you will marry X, Y, or Z. Sometimes, now God will speak to you. And when you go to Him in prayer, when you are romantically involved with a person, that person may be a half believer, full unbeliever, or a believer but not in the same feverishness as you are, whomever it may be. And God is speaking to you that you should not actually give your heart to that person. But still you are rebelling. Still you want to continue that relationship. Still you are meeting that person. Still you are talking on the phone. Still you are carrying the romantic relationship forward. You know what God does? He does what is described in Hosea chapter 2, 5 and 6. Can you read that please? Hosea chapter 2, 5 and 6. Hosea 2, 5 and 6. Powerful verse. In fact, I remember being on a chat with a particular person. Yes.
Shameless prostitute.
Okay.
And became pregnant in a shameful way. She said, I will run after other lovers.
I will run after other lovers.
And sell myself to them for food and water.
I will sell myself for food
and water.
For water.
For clothing of blue and diamond, and for the olive oil and cheese.
For clothing and olive oil and whatnot. Okay.
For this reason, I will fence her in with thorn bushes.
For this reason, I will
fence her with thorn bushes.
With thorn bushes. The context is, the woman is Israel, and Israel is actually married to God. Okay, it's a pictorial imagery, not literally speaking, but spiritually speaking. But Israel is rejecting God and going behind other gods, which is like adultery, because other gods, attract her more than Yahweh, and the other gods are giving Israel linen and food and oil and whatnot. So out of the attraction, out of temporary attraction, Israel is deserting the true God and going behind false gods. Israel is leaving her husband and going behind other lovers. And what does God do here? He fences her in. He puts a block in her path. God puts a block in the path of Israel. So how do we handle romantic rejections? Okay, we understand that God foresees the danger if we marry X, Y, Z, and God hardens the heart of X, Y, Z, so that X, Y, Z itself will say no to your proposal. Because God knows, despite He's speaking to you, you've been disobedient. And you still want to pursue this relationship. So what does God do? He loves you so very much. He hardens the girl's heart or the concerned boy's heart, and that boy says no to you. And probably you're crying and you feel miserable. You're thinking of suicide and you're so sorry for what has happened. You're crying. You're making your pillow wet. And you're saying, Lord, why did this happen to you? But you know what God says? You will cry for a few weeks, but I don't want you to cry for a lifetime, because that's what will happen when you marry that person. And not only that, you will be away from my will. Now, sometimes, when I say this, I should be very careful. Sometimes God allows you also to go and marry the person of your choice. Okay, He doesn't do that all the time, but sometimes He hardens the heart of that person. He hardens the heart of the person, so when that other person says no. Now, I can give you two examples for this. One, Billy Graham. Billy Graham, when he was in college, okay, he loved a girl called Emily, Florida Bible Institute, I think, if I'm correct. Now, Billy Graham was so head over and heels in love with this girl called Emily. And when the going rate was 25 cents for a corsage, which is a ring corsage, okay, Billy Graham bought a 50-cent corsage for her. This is 1940 or 1950. But she still chose Billy's best friend. She rejected Billy and chose Billy's best friend. Why? Because God saw the end from the beginning. Because God knew the whole wide world, there wouldn't be a better choice to be for the position of wife of Billy Graham than Ruth Bell Graham, a woman who stayed at home and raised 5 godly children, one of which is Franklin Graham, who came to our city and preached the gospel to over 80,000 people 2 or 3 years ago. So powerful. Okay, a woman who stayed back and raised godly children, a woman who was Billy Graham's best critique always. Okay, a woman who helped Billy Graham be stable and be so down to earth and so humble. A woman who kept Billy Graham so humble, so much so, once he told a reporter, he would ask God, the first thing he'll ask God when he reaches heaven is, why did you choose me to be the preacher who preached in person to the maximum number of people in all of history? Why did you not choose somebody else? A woman who kept him so humble. So, but how did God do it? He hardened Emily's heart so that she would like somebody else. Now, there was a time in my life when I thought a particular girl was God's will for me, and I was so using all the creative talent that I had, writing letters and poems and expressing my love for her. And I would not forget the day when I was still in Bible college, when I got an envelope, and when I opened the envelope was all torn pieces of a paper, and I thought the paper looks familiar. Oh. I woke up 3 o'clock in the morning and sat down and wrote poems for that particular girl on this paper. Now that has come in. That's couriered back to me in tone. No, I was. If I told you I was happy, I was praising God. No, I was not praising God. My heart was like that, torn into so many pieces in that paper. Then it took me some time. Then I went back home and.
Then to write in the next. Back to the next.
Not yet. That's where my wife even gets me wrong. I was really hurt. In fact, you should have seen me how hurt I was. Then I had some baggage which related to this in my house, and I went to. I grew up in Vellore. There is a moat around around the fort. There is a water body. I went and I threw everything, every reminder, every photograph. In fact, ours was, I'm not talking about a physical relationship I had with somebody. I just thought this particular person could be a possible life partner. A life partner for me, and I felt it was God's will. And in fact, I am no patch on Billy Graham, but even Billy Graham writes in his autobiography, he was so sure Emily was God's will for him. So sure. Okay, and I was very sure. But what is the only way God at that point in time, he knew that Evangeline would be the best life partner for Duke. Okay? The only way that's going to happen is he's going to harden the heart of X. Harden it so much that she would actually tear up all the love letters I wrote to her and courier it back to me.
I told your letter, no?
That's fine. So, I hope you're with me in this reason I'm talking this way to handle God's. So God foresees the danger if you marry X, Y, Z. In fact, now when I'm saying this, I'm not making any other person, the person who rejected me, a less spiritual person. No, it's just how God guides each heart. So we need to see things objectively. Because God has called each one of us for a special role. I think I've often mentioned that God has given us a talent and God has given us a task in His kingdom. So the life partner we choose often will decide how well we take that talent and go to that place in God's kingdom and execute that task. So, God gives us a choice, but He also knows who may be the best person to fit that choice. But so we need to spend time with His presence, asking God to lead us to that person. But still, we need to use our free will to choose that person. God will not choose that person for you. Okay, so God sees the danger if you marry X, Y, Z. So that's why He blocks your path. In Hosea chapter 2, He blocks the path of Israel. And so that the Israel will not continue, its flirtatious relationship with several other men. Okay.